Bar. Next maiden speech, Josh Fenton-Glynn.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. May I congratulate the member for Bromley and Biggin Hill for a valiant attempt to pretend that Bromley and Biggin Hill is the best constituency in the country. Come back to me when you have 2 Nobel Prize winners and a Poet Laureate. I am standing to give my maiden speech about the constituency of Calder Valley, where I was born and brought up and where I now raise my own family. I've had some time to consider this speech, having been elected on the 4th time of asking. I've said that many times because I believe that the voiceless in our society need a voice, and we particularly hear that in the debate today. As is customary, I'd like to start with a few thank yous. To my local Labour officials who stood by with me and frankly put up with me for a decade. To the campaigners who gave time to something bigger than themselves. To my agent, Marie Wright, who I trusted with my campaign, and to my agent at 3 previous elections, Steve Sweeney, a fine counsellor and a better human being who's no longer with us to hear this speech. And no series of thank yous would be complete without turning to my family. From Calder Valley's 2 smallest leafleters and door knockers, my amazing wife, and all the other family members who've given me emotional and practical support over many years. I owe so much to all of you, and I only hope that I can live up to the expectations you've put in me. Yeah. Calder Valley, as I know to my cost, is a bellwether constituency, having gone the same way as the government in every election since 1983. It consists of a string of towns all unique in their own way, but with a common heritage in the wool trade, and a commonality in the way they've faced the world since that trade has died away. To win Calder Valley and to represent it, you have to be able to speak to different people in different communities, and successful governments should always do so. Donald Thompson, the first MP for Calder Valley, in his maiden speech for the predecessor constituency of Sorby in 1979, referred to the shift in the use of our mills. Not all the mills spin and weave, dozens house new industries now, he said. And perhaps the story of the modern Calder Valley is how we've adapted to that change. The towns of Calder Valley run along the River Calder, a river that's brought great beauty and supported the textile trade that once made our community world famous. But it's also brought with it floods which hit our community particularly hard in 2012, 2015 and 2020. A visible sign of the impact of climate change that will define many of our coming years. However, the towns have been able to rebuild, relying on an incredible community spirit and a way of being with the world that was referred to by Chris McCafferty, Calder Valley MP from 1997 to 2010, in her maiden speech as, and I quote, bloody-minded, proud, pernickety and independent. Yeah. A statement I would demur from making myself, but I certainly recognise it in many people I represent. Chris was good enough when I was 15 to accept me as work experience in her office. As I say, each town has its own history and tradition, guarded proudly. The town of Todmorden, the traditional county boundary between Yorkshire and Lancashire, with Yorkshire governance, an Oldham postcode and an accent somewhere in between, was home to the famous radical parliamentarian John Fielding, who changed the law to reduce the number of hours children could work to 10 hours a day. Over the years, that town has boasted an astonishing 2 Nobel Prize winners, and it's the birthplace of incredible edible, who've pioneered growing vegetables in community spaces. Moving down the river to Hebden Bridge, a town once famous for fustian trousers and the first workers-owned cooperative mill, that mill is now home to Calder, which makes state-of-the-art mixing desks. Other mills host a thriving creative community. From Hebden Bridge, a short hop down the Rochdale Canal, we'll take you to Maiden, the birthplace of Poet Laureate and scourge of GCSE English students everywhere, Ted Hughes. The Mid-Valley includes Elland, a market town once of such importance that Yorkshire's largest football club's ground is named for the road that leads there. Elland is now home to great businesses and even better people. I'm proud to be a member of Elland Round Table, and with our annual bonfire we've raised thousands for local good causes. Round tables across the country offer a lot of charity work, but they also give men an opportunity to do things alongside each other, creating an intentional community of friends that has been very valuable to men's mental health over the years, and I pay tribute to them. The town of Elland will soon be improved by a new train station, something that my honourable friend, the Secretary of State for Transport, will hear quite a lot from me about in due course. Our rural communities include Ryburn and Greetland, the spellings of both of which I'll pass to Hansard later, and where we see farmers reinvent themselves from BSE to foot and mouth and political shocks like Brexit. Small farmers' lives are never straightforward. However, they are underestimated as custodians of our landscape, nature and biodiversity. Through supporting small farms, we can answer many of the problems we face in other places. The biggest population centre in the constituency is Brighouse and Rastrick, famous for their brass band, who have the dubious honour of the longest-running number 2 in British chart history. Brighouse over the years has produced everything from biscuits to valves. It perhaps typifies the story of our changing industry as much as anywhere. The mills don't spin and weave, but they're home to new industries now. And on to me. As I've said, I was born and raised in Calder Valley, and I'm keen to continue the campaigning tradition of past MPs, from John Fielding to Chris McCafferty, a tireless campaigner for women's rights. Despite my severe dyslexia, I got a good education at Calder High School, thanks to great teachers like the Honourable Member for Stoke-on-Trent South, the first purpose-built comprehensive school in the north of England. While no one in my family has chosen politics as a path, it would be untrue to say that we aren't political. Indeed, going back to my great-great-grandfather, my family have been Labour supporters. Said ancestor, John Hughes, was the agent to Joshua Ritson, one of the first Labour MPs for the city of Durham, one of 142 Labour MPs that were elected in the 1922 cohort, but the only Josh. This intake has seen a 2.9-fold increase in the number of Labour MPs and a 7-fold increase in the number of Joshes, both numbers of which I hope continue to hold strong. And the fourth MP for Calder Valley and the fourth of local government experience. I think, in general, local government is good grounding for work in this place, but nowhere more so than in Halifax's Town Hall, designed by Charles Barry, who designed much of this place as well. Halifax Town Hall was his final building, so we like to say that he practised on Parliament, but perfected his work in Calderdale. My predecessor, Craig Whittaker, was twice on Calderdale Council and had the job of Cabinet Member for Children and Young People, as well as being a whip in this place. While he and I may not agree on many issues, we have a shared love for Calder Valley, and he was a committed public servant who, between council and parliament, gave 2 decades to his community. My council career culminated with me taking the role of Cabinet Member for Adult Services and Wellbeing, which included social care. It is perhaps fitting I've been elected in the government who want to get to grips with this issue. While it's easy to talk about the health service and delivery, I find that the difference that good care workers can make can be even more impactful in people's lives. And when I look at the areas that I've focused on in my career, it's the less glamorous topics that draw me. I spent a lot of my career looking at the welfare system and how it can alleviate poverty. I worked at Oxfam Child Poverty Action Group and Church Action on Poverty. A proud trade unionist, I've supported often low-paid workers at USDO and the Public and Commercial Services Union. I've always believed that getting benefits right, supporting people into work rather than punishing them for not being able to find work, and supporting with dignity those who simply can't work, is one of the things we can do to make our economy stronger and people happier in work and life. In PCS, I had the honour of working with many committed public servants, often unseen but in absolutely vital jobs, including public safety, which reminds us of the topic of today's debate. So many of those roles were unthinkingly closed in the bonfire of the Quangos, and we must always remember that our actions in this House have a larger impact elsewhere. My more recent career as Cabinet Member for Social Care and my day job for the General Medical Council taught me similar lessons, giving me a glimpse of some of the amazing committed people working in caring professions. It's only a shame that the unreformed care system places a different value on work inside and outside the NHS. I hope a national care service will recognise that care work is skilled work and should be supported in the same way. So in conclusion, I'd like to take a minute to thank my community of Calder Valley for the faith you've shown in me over the years. Our towns sit like unique pearls in the Pennines, formed from Yorkshire grit, but bound together by the history of the textiles we once produced. I will always keep in mind our diversity and uniqueness, as well as the common threads that weave together and unite us. I promise to always listen and do my very best to be your voice in Westminster. Thank you.
Yeah.